Hello everyone, Trophy Wine Hunter. Welcome back to my wine channel. Today I'm going to talk about corked wines. And I had an unfortunate experience at my Napa Valley or US wine night that I brought in a bottle of 2013 Lewis Cellars, which I was really looking forward to sharing with my friends. It is the wine of the year of Wine Spectator, I think in 2016. But unfortunately, when we opened it, it was corked. And I wanted to talk about corked wines and kind of how to identify them. Let me first start off by saying if you can't identify corked wines, then you're lucky and that's good. Good on you. It's not a good thing to be able to identify corked wines, but some people, and especially those in the wine industry, obviously have more ability and they train their senses more, so they're easier for them to identify. So let's talk about corked wines. And so it's not something to be proud of, or it's not something, if you can't distinguish a corked wine, that's good for you. You don't have any, it's not a bad thing. But now that I'm kind of more in line with corked wines, I find that it is sometimes difficult to describe, especially for consumers or for beginners. What is a corked wine? So really a corked wine from my perspective, and how we figured out this was a corked wine, was it didn't taste right. And I was lucky I was with very experienced somms who told me right away they thought it was corked. They asked me to taste it. I said, yeah, I agree. We had another person, and this is a situation where all three of us thought it was corked. And but there are some situations where some people will say, well, that's not too bad, it's slightly corked, or some people can't recognize it. That's fine. If you can't recognize it and it doesn't bother you, then you're good to go. Why is it important to be able to identify a corked wine? I think from my perspective, it's important because we want to make sure that we're not attributing the bad corked wine to the actual winery. So, you know, if you don't have a problem drinking corked wine, that's fine. But I don't think it's fair to the winery, because if you have a bad experience, then you're going to blame the winery when it's not their fault. And so that's the only reason I think it's important to identify corked wine. So what does a corked wine taste and smell like? So there's a couple of things that identify a corked wine. First of all is smell the cork. That's, again, not necessarily the case. In this situation, it's not that bad, and I didn't take anything off the cork. The first clue that I had with this wine was that the smell was not quite right. So it smells like really like kind of like wet cardboard. Sometimes it'll smell like mold. There's some underlying fruit, but it's not like fragrant. It's almost like there's wet cardboard on top of the wine, and that's kind of the first kind of sense of that. And again, there's degrees of corked wine. Some are not as bad. I also find that a lot of times people mistake old wines to be corked, and they just need some breathing. They are musty, but that doesn't mean they're corked. But this shouldn't happen for 2013 Lewis. It shouldn't smell kind of this kind of like wet cardboard type smell. But even in the taste, if the smell bothers you, as long as it tastes okay, it's fine. In this situation, it doesn't taste okay. It kind of tastes muted. So there's not a lot of fruit in this wine. And again, it tastes like wet cardboard, or yeah, like it kind of doesn't have any taste at all. And it almost like all the fruit has been sucked out of the wine. And that's not really fair to this wine. That's obviously not how this wine should taste, or with a regular bottle. So I guess that's kind of my video on corked wines. I actually have had difficulties in the past identifying them, and sometimes you're not sure of yourself, so you're thinking, well, it's me. If you have any doubt when you have a corked wine, I find that most people are pretty understanding. Like for instance, with BC liquor stores, if there's a corked wine, you bring it back, they'll normally refund it, no questions asked. You can't go and drink the whole bottle and then say it's corked, but if you take out a glass or something like that and return it, that's fine. Likewise with restaurants, they're usually pretty good about it. Even if they don't agree with you in terms of cork, they'll usually switch the wine for you or switch for another bottle. of a similar price. You can't go and drink an expensive wine, say it's corked, and then order a cheaper wine. That's not too fair to the restaurant. Hope this has been useful. Until next time, happy drinking.